Hey there, welcome to saas.unbound, brought to you by SaaS Group. I'm your host, Anna Nadeina, and this is the show where we chat with inspiring founders and experts to get an inside scoop on how they made their business a success. And today with me is Martin Courau, co-founder of Fincome, on a mission to help founders and CFOs of digital companies gain insights and make better decisions by providing them with a real-time 360 view of their business performances. And it's absolutely great to talk with you today because you also come from a PE background. So, you know what we're dealing with at SaaS Group. So great to have you here, Martin.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, like I said, you've got a PE background, and overall, I just read a bit of your story, and it's pretty fascinating. So, can you maybe talk a bit about yourself first?
Absolutely. So, yeah, I come from a pretty, like, I guess you would say traditional background. Like, I attended business school in Paris. And back in the days, investment banking was still seen as, very prestigious. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to try my hands at that. So I moved to London. I spent a year working for Goldman Sachs, then working for Morgan Stanley. It was a great experience, but you're kind of stuck in your steel and glass tower in the big city, and you're kind of far away from actual businesses. So I thought, what could I do that will give me some more proper experience and ground experience. So I joined a strategy consulting firm called Roland Berger in Paris. I stayed there for about 3.5 years. Worked on around 25 projects, and I did see a lot of industries. So again, great experience. And after 3.5 years, I thought, finance is really my thing. The investment side of things seems super interesting. I did it on the sides in public markets, and I thought, well, private equity kind of seems like the next logical step. So I wasn't being super original, so I joined a mid-market private equity fund based in Paris. Stayed there for about 4 years, and it was a fantastic experience because the team was really a fantastic collection of very talented individuals. And after 4 years, I saw that a lot of things were happening really at the crossroads between finance and tech. I had always wanted to try my hands at entrepreneurship. So I thought, I was 30, 32 at the time. I thought now is probably the right window to do it. I don't have any kids yet. So I thought, yeah, let's go. So I teamed up with Vincent and Lucas, and we launched Fincome, and that's about it.
Okay, that's a fascinating story. It's great to see people that had this amazing experience digging super deep into the market where they eventually launched something. So I think it's also a great sign for investors. And you guys went with a VC funding for FinCom. So after so many years in finance, was it easier for you to understand what they're looking for? Was it easier to get the metrics that they were looking for? And I don't know, maybe your personal connections network helped.
Yeah, so it did give us a pretty significant head start. Starting, of course, with anything to do with what you put in the pitch deck. So that is metrics, the business plan. We had this big Excel model because that's what we did as investors. My co-founder Vincent is also a private equity investor. He spent 8 years in another mid-market PE fund in Paris. So we knew what the expectations were in terms of figures that we had to deliver, in terms of the forecasts, and in terms of the granularity that we had to deliver in order to raise funds. So that was, of course, a big help. Second thing that really helped is when it came to, of course, negotiating the terms and the structuring of the investment. That used to be our full-time jobs. So, drafting the term sheet, drafting the shareholders agreements, the share purchase agreement, all of that is something that we were able to do pretty quickly and on terms which, are we view as quite favorable to us because that was part of what we did. And we had all the good reflexes and the good knowledge. And that really helped us secure the funding really fast, which was good because we secured funding well, inflation was starting to rise. The war in Ukraine was going on, so we could see that the window for VC financing kind of shutting down, and we thought, wow, we really have to deliver on this fundraising, else we're not going to be able to move forward with our roadmap. In terms of connections, not so much, because we were on the private equity sides, and so we are the boring guys wearing suits. We're not the hip, cool VC guys, and we didn't know that many VC guys, but it really helped us, gathering a network of business angels that were willing to supplement the money that was put in by Excel. So overall, yeah, it really did help us, and it really helped us get to where we are today.
Okay, it's fun that you said we're not the hip cool VC guys, and we're boring PEs, and that's exactly like the perception of a PE company that we're trying to change at SaaS Group. Like, we are the cool hip PE. So awesome. So it gave you really like a head start with the financing. But why did you choose this route in the first place? Because I feel like yeah, maybe like 3 4 years ago, especially when it was super easy to raise funds, you were not even considered successful if you are not on what is it, TechCrunch blog, where they announced that you raised $3 million. Now it's a bit more favorable towards bootstrapped startups. So why did you choose, when the window was already closing, to go with the VCs?
Absolutely. I mean, we considered going the bootstrapping way. A lot of our clients are bootstraps, and we just have a lot of respect for that choice. And I think it really enforces a discipline, which is, really makes companies really successful, especially in the current markets. We did choose to raise because it made sense, because we thought that we have an ambitious product roadmap. The vision we have and the value proposition that we're trying to deliver is going to take quite a bit of resources in terms of development. So we're going to have to hire a fully blown product team. It's going to take a lot of resources in terms of sales and marketing. And we thought, if we want to deliver on our business plan, if we want to achieve this vision within a reasonable time frame, we're going to need some dry powder, as the old boring PE guys call it. And that's why we decided to raise.
Okay. All right. So I'm just always remembering another episode that we did with the founder of Butter, when he said, um, when you decide between bootstrapping or going after a VC round, it's your decision points are ambition and competition. So in your case, it was, I guess, mostly ambition, right? You wanted to really go out there fast and win the market. So great that you mentioned that you're serving other SaaS companies, especially bootstrap SaaS companies. And some may argue, and that was also the case when I was working for a startup. Serving other SaaS companies is like, it sounds amazing, and you feel great because you help other companies and other founders that are super inspiring. But it may not be the wealthiest market, right? So you really have to be very careful with your pricing strategy and with your branding. So when I read what you were doing, you are serving founders and CFOs of bigger companies, and I thought, okay, so the CFOs are there, like the market that is going to bring you the money, and the SaaS founders are probably people that are going to still keep you in that cool space, right? Cool startup. So what's the market that you're focusing on, and why did you choose it?
Absolutely. You make a very interesting point, which is, what is the core market for us, and how do we
Yeah.
get to sell? Because, as you mentioned, they're not necessarily the wealthiest clients, especially in the current environment. Everybody's cutting costs. Everybody's being really careful with the cash burn. Everybody's monitoring their runway like crazy. Um, and so what we see is that our value proposition is really relevant once our clients have reached a certain stage of development. We place it currently at around 700,000 euros in ARR. That's the stage where you have a lot of KPIs that you start to need tracking. That's the stage where if you don't track your churn, you're putting your entire company at risk. So that's the stage where it makes sense to get a tool that's going to do that for you on a live basis, day to day. And what we see is that in order to sell to clients who are currently under a lot of pressure because funding is scarce, because growth is slowing down. I mean, we see it in our clients' growth lines. Growth is kind of slowing down. It's all about ROI. It's all about proving that you can deliver a value that is substantially greater, and I'm talking 10 times greater than the price they're going to pay for the tool. And we achieve that by doing an onboarding that's really white glove at the moment, and by really listening to our clients in order to add the features on our roadmap that are going to increase the value delivered. And that's something that we really strive for. That is, every month we try to release features that have been asked for by the majority of our clients, and every month we know that our value proposition is getting stronger, and that really helps us. It helps us move up markets. We're now able to target larger companies that usually have complex data sets, and it helps us, of course, achieve higher average revenue per account.
Okay. All right. I also wanted to touch upon what you just said about the product roadmap, right? And how customers are shaping the product for you. So, and another episode that I did about it was about the fact that there are customers, and obviously you have to listen to them and deliver what they're asking for, especially if it's not just one customer, or maybe not one big customer, because you kind of have to listen to them, especially if they make a big difference for you at the early stages. But it's also about having like this founder intuition and product intuition, and like really knowing where you want to go. So what's prevailing for you? Do you know exactly what you want to build and how it's going to look in like 3 years, or it's mostly just collecting user feedback and just putting in columns like 5 people requested that and 50 people requested that? So what's your product roadmap?
Yeah, it's kind of striking a balance. So we do listen to our users, but what we do is we try to listen to the problems and to the opportunities, not to the solutions. Like, if a proper feature request made by a client is not something that we're going to consider in and of itself. We're going to try to dig and try to understand what's the underlying problem they're trying to assess. We can't really expect our users to build a product for us. That's not what they're here for. That's what we're here for. So we try to collect the problems, try to make notes of all the problems and all the opportunities that are expressed by our users, and then we kind of we build a roadmap by putting those opportunities through a matrix, which is really basic, which is what's the impact going to be if we deliver a solution to this problem. What's the impact business wise going to be, and what's the resources and the time that's going to be needed to deliver the solution. And if we see that there's something that's going to be massively impactful that doesn't require a lot of development, of course that's a no-brainer. We're going to prioritize that. And then, of course, the core of the opportunities that we get from our users are going to be high impact, but also high development time. And that's really where it takes a bit of intuition to try to make a ranking, a real pecking order between the various things that are brought up by the users. Because if we listen to everything at face value, there's no direction. It's very difficult to give a proper direction to your roadmap. So you really have to, I think, have a vision. That 3-year vision that you mentioned is something that's important. And then you have to use the opportunities that pop up from your user base to try to steer your way efficiently towards this vision. And it is easier said than done. And it is really difficult because you don't want to disappoint, right? We were very close to our user base, especially the earlier ones. We speak to them almost every day. And we're like, okay, yeah, sure. I'd like to deliver this ASAP for you, but that's not the way it works. you have to remember that you're operating with constraints. So it is a pretty fine balancing act. And right now, I think we're pretty clear in terms of vision that we have for the product. 2 years, 3 years wise vision. Right now, we're doing SaaS analytics. We're striving to move towards a fully blown financial planning and analysis tool for SaaS SMBs, which is something that doesn't really exist yet in Europe for a variety of reasons. We see a lot of fantastic products in the United States that are a huge source of inspiration for us, and it is also what the users are really clamoring for. Like, I want my monthly P&L in a tool automatically. Like, I just don't want my MRR, my churn. All of that is super. I will pay X amount of euros every month for it, but the next step for you guys is going to be that.
Okay, interesting. Well, we are doing a product management MA. If you'd like to come,
I
ask your
saw that. Yeah, I'm
questions
definitely gonna join. I
next
think I'm gonna
week,
need that.
Okay, cool. So I think our episode is going to be live on Monday, and on Monday you can also join the AMA. So happy
Cool.
to see you there. All right. So something else I wanted to ask you, because you keep saying you have users and you have customers. So where do you stand on the pricing strategy? Is there freemium? Is there, I don't know, are you asking people to pay pretty much right away? Do you do demos? How do you work with your white glove onboarding? So can we dig deeper into the whole customer communication?
Absolutely. So we did consider freemium, and it is a pretty sophisticated product. So having a full self-served process where a user will just type something in Google, find our website, log on, connect his Stripe account, his bank accounts, then go through the tool. It's not something that has materialized yet, and we don't necessarily think that it's something that can work in Europe. We see it done in other markets, especially in the US. We probably, our hypothesis right now is that the European customer does require some degree of interaction when it comes to choosing and onboarding himself or herself on a financial tool. And fair enough. So what we have right now is it's a flat fee. It's a monthly fee. That's going to change really soon, but we are still working on that because, of course, pricing is always an ongoing discussion. And what you have is you'll have a demo with one of the co-founders. You'll have a free trial, which is the standard duration is 7 days. But if it takes you a bit of time to get your data cleaned up, which does happen if you're not using Stripe or ChargeBee or Penny Lane or Pro Bono, which are the invoicing tools that we are integrated with, then you're going to work with Google Sheet or Excel, which is fine. You can import those in Fincome, but it does usually take some time to get that data all squared up. So if that takes time, then we can, of course, extend the trial periods. And then the idea is that you get to play with the tool. You get to get your first insights during the trial period, and that helps the conversion towards paid. And there's really a key moment, which is really the key aha moments that we have to help our clients get to during the free trial period, which is, all right, we're going to sit, we're going to share the screen, we're going to look at your figures, your KPIs, and we're going to try to get you real actionable insights. And that's really the funnest part of the job. That's the best part of the job. You're like, okay, I'll show you how the tool can really deliver value, and you always have this live discovery of, oh my god, the churn on product X is super high. What's going on? I didn't know that. Or my LTV for clients that are located in Belgium, for example, is super high. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? So we really have to get to this point where they're looking at their figures in Fincome, and they're like, eureka! I just discovered something about my business, about my performance that I was not aware of, and that is thanks to Fincome. So of course, I'm going to need that tool. Also, we try to help them understand just how much time they're going to save, and how much Excel time, especially how much Google Sheet time they're going to save by using Fincom. But because that is also a core aspect of our value proposition, which is you're going to make better decisions based on better insights that you're going to get from your data. But you're also going to step out of Excel. You're going to stop computing your MRR in Excel, which in this day and age, you shouldn't do that because life is too short for Excel. Let's be honest. Nobody likes Excel. It's super manual. I think 95% of Excel models have mistakes in them. If a CFO spends like half his or her time in Excel, that is a waste of time, especially for basic stuff like MRR. Like pick a tool, like save some time, spend more time, spend more quality time with your
Yeah,
family. Just get out of
true.
Excel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember. Um, I think the only time I had to work with Excel was at the university, and they were trying to teach us like this sheets and sheets of formulas, and I was like, "Who uses that? Like, who needs that?" So, absolutely,
Well,
Excel
boring
is.
PE guys. That's who.
Yeah. Okay, you've been there, you know. Okay, so
Oh, I have been there. Yeah,
something that
I don't know how many hours, but yeah.
ouch. Sorry. Well, now you have Fincome, so
Mm.
you don't have to do it anymore. But yeah, something else that you mentioned was about um, customer acquisition, right? And I really, really want to dig a bit deeper into that because um, what could be or what are maybe what already works for you guys, how did you realize that this is the market that where you're going to get your customers, or this is the channel that works best for you, right? And yeah, and then let's talk about sales cycles a little bit, but customer acquisition channels first.
Absolutely. So as mentioned, it is a sophisticated product. We are in a price range that really drove us to try outbound before trying inbound. So and we did a lot of test and learn, and what we found that really works for us is kind of a multi-pronged approach. So we'll do email campaigns, we'll do LinkedIn campaigns, and we'll try to have those running alongside a content strategy and we try to make sure that the people we write to are seeing our content on LinkedIn, are seeing our content on YouTube. And what we find is, if they get an email from us, if they get a LinkedIn message from us, and they've seen our ad on LinkedIn, and they've seen a post by one of the co-founders on LinkedIn, and they see that, we're organizing events in Paris, or we're organizing webinars, then, it kind of builds trust in the brand, and it really helps us
Yeah.
get that demo. And we get that demo by calling them. That's the final step. We have someone who calls them and who says, we've been looking at your company. We know that you have X employees, so we think you're going to be a great fit for us. We have this discovery approach where we try to ask them as many questions as we can to try to understand where they are, and we try to kind of press on the pain points, like how do you track your MRR? Do are you able of calculating your LTV every month? If not, well, let's talk, because that is something that we can help you with.
Okay, that makes sense. I like that you're talking about the value that you're able to provide to those companies, and the demo is something else that I wanted to talk about because, as far as I understand, there are like three of you, three co-founders that are really working deeply on the product. Um, do you do all the demos, and how sustainable is this strategy? So basically, at what point do you think you'll have to outsource this and you won't be able to do just the three of you?
So the demo currently are done mostly by Vincent, who's in charge of the sales. And when his calendar is full, I can take over some of the demos. And of course, yeah, the idea for us is that we are reaching a stage, and I think we'll be reaching that stage really in the coming weeks, where we're not able to handle all of the demos. So there's the we're really putting the emphasis on training our sales team to actually handle the demos. And that means that they have to be able to do two things, which are the capacity to have a really in-depth educated and expert conversation on financial topics, and we train them a lot on all financial topics relevant to a SaaS founder or a SaaS CFO, because they have to be relevant. The potential user who's speaking with them has to feel that they're in good hands. There's someone I'm speaking to who has a proper expertise, who's able to understand my problems, and who's going to be able to understand if the solution can deliver value. And that's the first thing. Secondly, of course, is understanding the product, mastering the product in depth, to be able to have what we call an educated demo, which is, we've done this discovery phase. We spent 20 minutes understanding the issues faced by the prospect we're speaking to. So now we're going to show that prospect the sections of the tools that really directly address the pain points. And every demo is different. Sometimes you're going to show very basic stuff because
Oh.
you're facing someone who's doing everything in Excel and everything's manual, and he's never seen a tool like this before. And sometimes you're going to try to address somebody who's trying to chop his top line in several dimensions, and is going to use the segmentation feature that we have in a really advanced way. So every demo is different, and we're training our sales team really hard so that they can be independent when conducting that effort.
So let's talk about
Yeah.
the sales cycle a little bit, right? Because it seems like it's a product that you may not see maybe the need for it for a while, like you said, for companies that generate less than $700,000 ARR, right, or euro. It doesn't really make sense. So you
Yeah.
have to not just have a good product, but be able to sell it at the exact moment when companies are looking for it. So how do you make sure that you're out there at this moment, and how do you figure out when this moment is there for the companies and the founders?
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of the critical aspects of sales efficiency that we're working on very hard. It's actually been a major focus of the last 3 months. So it's all about segmentation. It's all about gaining as much intelligence about your prospects as you can. So you have a lot of tools that are going to help you understanding how big they are, how many employees, what's their revenue, so on and so forth. But the idea for us is to try and go deeper than that. And that is, well, do they have a CFO? What's the CFO's background or profile? Do they have investors that they have to report to? We're trying to identify, relevant triggers. One of those is, of course, they've raised funds. Now they have a reporting they have to set up, and it's stressful. It's a stressful moment for them. We can help them handle that. Another trigger is, well, they have a CFO that has joined the company in the last 3 months. That CFO is currently choosing the stack that they're going to use, and that is a relevant time for us to step in. So there is a pretty in-depth segmentation and intelligence work that we have to do. And as you mentioned, the idea for us is to only pull the trigger when we think it's relevant to, because the people we're addressing, whether they're founders or CFOs, they get 15 cold emails every day. I get 15 cold emails every day. It drives me nuts because, sometimes I can't even get the name of my company right. And so we try to kind of stand out with this multi-pronged approach, where it's not just going to be a series of emails. It's going to be, a bit of everything. So emails, LinkedIn, some nurturing, some events, and it's not going just to be sales. It's also going to be, let's talk. We think we can, just hopping on the call with us for 30 minutes. We know that we're going to be able to provide you with insights, and that in itself has value. And, if we can take it further, then we'll try to. So that's about that.
Right. Okay. Well, I think it's a great strategy. And about cold emails, I mean, that's my pain every day, because I get called all kinds of things. Somebody called me a cool dog on an email, and it was like, okay, that's
Okay.
a bit too much. But
Wow. I never got that.
um,
Now I want to get that.
I'll forward it to you. But yeah, it's just and yeah, emails about like recruiting, or it's, I don't know, people do not do their homework. But anyway, what is the what do you think is the this channel that kind of a tipping point for your customers before they reach so something that makes them want to do the demo? Are those events? Is it maybe your new podcast that you're doing, or something else?
Um, Honestly, we don't like we haven't really been able to pinpoint what's what's the tipping point that really converts someone to a demo. We're still in kind of a test and learn mode, so we're trying a lot of things and we're gathering a lot of data. So hopefully, by the end of the semester, we'll be able to really understand what was the main driving factor that really helped us convert 80% of our demos. Uh, right now, what we see is that it's really this multi pronged approach that's really doing the trick, because it helps build rapport. It helps build some sort of intimacy with the brand, with the team. It's very important that founders be visible and take stands and express their opinions. And it's really important to have a real tailored communication, whatever the channel may be, whether it be email, whether it be LinkedIn, whether you're inviting someone to an event. You really have to make sure that it's tailored, and it's hard to do at scale. But then again, when you look at the jump in conversion rates that it helps you achieve, it is worth it.
Right. Well, an 80% conversion rate. Wow. I mean, congrats. That's something that a lot of companies are trying to achieve. So it seems like you're doing something right. Okay. Maybe
Thanks.
you could share a hack that's been working for you for Fincome when it comes to finances. Maybe the way you're careful with your cash flow, or the way you track your metrics. By the looks of it, I can see you're not very careful with your cash flow. But yeah, so what has helped you? Is there a hack that you can share for other founders to use?
Um, I mean, I don't think there's like one definite hack. I think it's really about discipline, and it's really having the discipline to get the metrics on a weekly or monthly basis. I mean, it's not a hack, but that is the best way of going about it, especially when it comes to monitoring runway. And we do try to be careful because the funding scene being what it is, we try to give ourselves as much time as we can. Really discipline, and I guess, of course, having the right tools, having Fincome, huge help, life hack. But apart from that, yeah, just having the discipline and just putting the processes in place to get that data at the right time under the founders' noses so that they can make the decisions. That is really key. I think when it comes to finances, unfortunately, there isn't really like a definite hack. It is a tricky topic. It is a topic that requires a bit of time, a bit of discipline, also, of course, the right tools. So yeah, that's what we try to do at Fincom. We definitely have a very specific reporting process. Okay, maybe one hack is to leverage your accountant. What we see, it's especially true in France, might be less true in other geographies, but based on my discussion with Dutch and German clients, it probably is. Your accountant is someone who has to be key in the way you approach your data and who has to be a key data provider. The accountant is a key data source when it comes to monitoring your business, because you'll have access to your invoicing data, you'll have access to your cash data in your bank account. Everything else related to P&L has to come from your accountant. So it's key that you can have a discussion with their accountant and define the reporting that they have to deliver every month. That is something we did that is a huge help, which is, okay, I want my P&L, I want the cost structure of my P&L to have this and this, this cost bucket, this cost bucket, I want to track this margin and that margin. And that data, if you're a small company, is going to come from your accountant because your accounting is not internalized yet. So your accountant has that data in their system, and it's important that you define the reporting that you want. It's also important that you convince your accountant to deliver that data on a monthly basis. A lot of times we see that accountants work like on a quarterly basis or even worse on an annual basis, and you don't actually get any data from them except from your books at the end of the year. And that is really really suboptimal. And that is, if your accountant refuses to actually deliver something on a monthly basis, then he's not really doing their job. Their job is, of course, it's bookkeeping. Okay, it's getting your taxes right, fine, but it's also being your co-pilot when it comes to understanding what's going on in your business.
Oh wow, I think that that's really important and something that a lot of founders could use. So thank you for sharing that. That's really insightful and actionable. And just a couple more questions, just because you mentioned the team, obviously, and the culture that you're building, and how you're trying as co-founders to present yourself to the company. And what I see sometimes at VC backed startups, because you're hiring fairly fast, the company's growing, the team's growing, sometimes it's difficult to establish the culture and make sure that everyone's integrated and everyone's understanding the goals and what you're building together. So what's your approach? When did you start basically like establishing, realizing what kind of culture you want to nurture there, and what are the steps that you're taking?
Mm. That is a very good question, and it is a critical aspect of building a company. I guess the first step for us, when it was just us three founders, before we even raised funds, it was to get our values aligned and to write them down. Really, what do those values mean, and then how do we actually implement them? And the idea for us is that those values are the blueprint that we use to build the team culture and to build the processes and the rituals within the team. And that's something that is it's it has to be there has to be constant attention from the founders to make sure that what we put in place is aligned with those values, which can be sometimes a bit tricky because, of course, values are very conceptual and you're trying to define, what's your remote work policy is going to be. So it's sometimes hard to bridge those two things, but it is essential that you try not to steer too far away from those values, and those values really have to be at the core of the way you build a team. And of course, that's when you have to be smart when it comes to implementing processes. Remote work, of course, is a big topic. um, we see a lot of companies being super flexible. We see a lot of companies that are actually starting to ask people to come back into the office because they realize that building a culture when everybody's remote, and you're losing, the coffee machine chat side of things is kind of hard. So again, it's a balancing act. It's a very interesting part of the job. Not something that we necessarily were used to back in private equity. So it's a great thing to learn. And also, we have a lot of great companies, very inspiring companies that have built very, super attractive work culture with a lot of fun rituals. A lot of really inspiring stuff that we try to steal, basically.
That's I think it's the best, uh we call it inspire.
Yeah, no,
So
yeah,
get
absolutely.
inspired,
That's the
yes,
thing.
not stealing. Sure. But yeah, that's the best strategy. Okay, and the last question is about the biggest win and the biggest failure so far, maybe what you feel as a founder or the company.
Mm. Ooh, that's a tricky one. Um, well, biggest win. I mean, I'll speak for myself because I can't speak for the entire team. But biggest
Sure.
win was, of course, getting to a team of 10, going from just being us three to being a team of 10. From just having an idea, not even an idea, just having identified a problem that we wanted to address, all the way to building a product that works, that delivers value, and that people actually buy. And getting into that mindset, switching from the mindset of, you're a private equity guy, so you're a perfectionist, slaving away in Excel and reading legal documents, and being super detail oriented, to, well, you're a founder now, so you have to focus on the 80% that really matter. You have to delegate. You have to let a lot of stuff go. um, Switching to that mindset, well, I mean, of course, it's not it's always a work in progress, but starting to switch towards that mindset is a really big win in my book. It was really something that I was looking forward to, something that really stressed me out because it is difficult to let go of everything that you've been taught, that you've learned in your professional environment for almost 10 years. So that would be the biggest win in my book. Also the team, having that
Same.
team, this collection of super talented individual, that is the biggest win. Now let's talk about failures. You do have a lot of those, a lot of clients that I wish we had closed and we were not able to because the product, or the product didn't cut it yet, or because we didn't really understand what was the underlying issue, so we were not able to really bring forward the way we could have helped them with the tool. um, those are the big disappointments that you have, like, oh, you get an email, yeah, we're not gonna move forward after the trial period. That always kind of deflates your morale.
Oh yeah.
But in terms of massive failures, like, we're optimists as entrepreneurs, so there are probably some, but they just don't necessarily come to mind. I try not to think not to think of them too much.
Right, you erase them right away. So it never happened. No one has to know. So that's good, but that's kind of a normal life of any founder in any startup company. Some deals get closed and some deals don't. So, the only thing I can do is wish you more deals that go your way. Um, but Martin, it's been great talking with you. Martin also has a podcast now, so we're kind of colleagues. And go ahead and find Fincom on YouTube. I personally really enjoyed it, Martin. And if anyone in the audience wants to contact you, how do they do that best?
Oh, LinkedIn. I answer almost all my LinkedIn messages. Else,
Yes.
on the website, you can start your free trial, and if you do start a free trial, you will reach out to you.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for the conversation and for the great insights, Martin. And like I said, all the best with Fincom.
Thank you, Anna. It was great. It was great doing this discussion.
Thank you. Take
Bye
care.
bye.